Welcome, everybody. Ready to dive into something kind of mind-blowing?
We're talking karmic numbers, folks.
Yeah, so like your birth date. It's not just DA day. Right?
Oh, it's way more than that.
Buddhist teachings say it's like a code to understanding your soul's journey.
Kind of unlocks the secrets of your past, present, and future.
We're going to use a YouTube video as our guide today to sort of break it down.
But remember, this is just one interpretation, a starting point.
Yeah, for the real deep dive, you got to explore the traditional Buddhist text.
Exactly. Those are like the OG source material.
Okay, so karma. What's it really about?
Well, it's not just cause and effect, like you did something bad, so something bad happens to you.
Right, it's way more complex than that.
It's more like a web of energy.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Shaped by your intentions, and lessons learned from your past lives.
So like momentum you carry forward.
Exactly. It influences your experiences in this life.
Wow, that's deep. So how do we figure out our karmic number?
All right, ready to unlock your code?
Let's do it.
First, we got to do a little math. Don't worry, it's not too complicated.
I'm not a math whiz, but I'm game.
Perfect. We'll use an example, birthday, July 15th, 1990, just to make it clear.
Okay, July 15th, 1990. Got it.
Remember, each step isn't just about the numbers themselves.
Oh, okay. There's a deeper meaning, right?
Absolutely. It's all symbolic.
Yeah.
So first, we look at the day of the month, which is 15.
15, all right. What do we do with that?
We simplify it by adding those digits together, 1 plus 5.
Okay, so that's 6.
Exactly. Now, if you were born on a single-digit day, like the 7th, you'd already be done with this step.
Right, because there's nothing to add.
But anytime you get a 2-digit number, you just keep adding them until you get to a single digit.
Makes sense. Okay, what's next?
Next up, the month. July's the 7th month, so that's easy.
But what if you were born in, say, November?
November's the 11th month, right? So you'd add 1 plus 1, which equals 2.
Oh, I got it.
All right, last but not least, the year. In our example, it's 1990.
1990. Yep.
We add all those digits together, 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 0.
So that gives us 19.
Right, and since that's a 2-digit number, we got to simplify it.
So 1 plus 9, that's 10.
And 10 is still 2 digits.
Oh, right. So we add those. 1 plus 0, which equals 1.
Boom. Our year number is 1.
Okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this.
You got it. So now we have our simplified numbers, 6 for the day, 7 for the month, and 1 for the year.
Okay, almost there. What's the final step?
We add those 3 numbers together, 6 plus 7 plus 1.
That equals 14.
Right. One last simplification, 1 plus 4 equals
5. So for someone born on July 15th, 1990, their karmic number is 5.
Exactly. And just like that, you've unlocked a major clue about this person's life path.
So each number from 1 to 9 means something different.
Each one represents different karmic patterns and lessons.
Okay, cool. So now we know how W to calculate it, but what does each karmic number actually mean?
Let's get into it.
I'm ready. Give me all the juicy details.
We'll start by giving a little overview of each karmic number, what it generally represents.
Great. So let's say someone calculates their karmic number and it's a 1. What does that tell us about them?
If your karmic number is 1, it's all about self-discovery, leadership, being a trailblazer.
Oh, like a pioneer, forging their own path. Sounds exciting.
Right. But remember, every strength has its flip side.
So what challenges might a karmic number 1 face?
Well, that independent streak can sometimes tip into pride or selfishness if they aren't careful.
Right, it's about finding that balance.
Exactly. Honoring their need for independence, but also respecting others.
Makes sense. Okay, what about karmic number 2? What's their vibe?
Number 2 is all about connection, partnerships, cooperation, creating harmony.
They're like the glue that holds everything together.
You got it. They're often super sensitive, intuitive, and can really pick up on other people's emotions.
That's amazing. But I imagine that sensitivity could also be a challenge sometimes.
You're right. It can make them avoid conflict or suppress their own needs just to keep the peace.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
So for them, learning to set healthy boundaries is key.
Right, so they can maintain that harmony while still honoring their own needs.
Exactly. And speaking of balance, let's move on to karmic number 3.
3? Those are the creative types. Right?
You nailed it. Think self-expression, communication, all about bringing beauty into the world.
The artists, the writers, the performers.
Yes. They radiate joy and vibrancy, but they can also struggle with discipline and focus.
So like starting a million projects, but maybe not finishing them all.
That's the classic number 3 dilemma. Learning to harness that energy and actually see their ideas through is key.
Makes sense.
Huh?
Okay, on to karmic number 4. They seem more grounded.
Absolutely. Number 4 is all about building a solid foundation. Think stability, order, security.
So they're the reliable ones, always there when you need them.
Yep, practical, down to earth. But that can be their downfall too.
Oh, how so?
Getting too attached to routines, resisting change,
You
that
know,
can hold them back.
so they need to learn to be more flexible.
Exactly. It's about finding flexibility within that structure.
Okay, I'm starting to see how each number has its own unique set of strengths and challenges.
Exactly. And it's all about understanding both sides of the coin.
So what about karmic number 5? We
Yeah.
talked a bit about them earlier. The adventurers.
Yes. Those who crave freedom and constant change.
The ones who feel trapped if things stay the same for too long. But that can also lead to some issues, right?
Right, like impulsivity, fear of commitment.
So their lesson is learning to find freedom within themselves, not just externally.
You got it. Okay, let's talk about karmic number 6.
What makes them tick?
Number 6 is all about nurturing, caring for others.
The caregivers, the ones who always put others first.
Exactly. But that selflessness can become a burden if they're not cheerful.
Right, like leading to self-neglect or maybe even being taken advantage of in relationships.
That's a real risk, so learning to set boundaries, saying no sometimes, that's crucial for them.
Got it. Okay, now for karmic number 7. They seem like the deep thinkers of the group.
Number 7 is the seeker, always on a quest for knowledge and spiritual understanding.
Always asking the big questions, digging deep.
Exactly. But all that introspection can lead to isolation if they aren't careful.
So they got to find that balance between their inner world and the outer world.
You nailed it. Okay, what about karmic number 8?
They seem like the ambitious ones, driven to achieve great things.
You're right, they're natural-born leaders focused on success, but
But that ambition can be a double-edged sword.
exactly, it can lead to an unhealthy attachment to power or material possessions.
So their challenge is using that ambition wisely for the greater good.
Exactly. Okay, last but not least, karmic number 9.
The humanitarians. They seem like the ones who really want to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. Driven by compassion, always looking to help others.
But they can be super sensitive too.
Oh, yeah. They can easily get overwhelmed if they take on too much.
So self-care and setting boundaries are super important for them too.
It's about channeling that compassion in a healthy way.
Wow, we've covered all the karmic numbers.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how each number represents such a unique path.
So are you ready to find out your karmic number?
Get your pen and paper ready. We just walked you through the steps.
Take a minute, do the calculations, and see what you uncover. We'll be right here waiting.
Think about what we've just discussed. See which number resonates with you.
Because in the next part, we're going to take a deep dive into what your karmic number reveals about you. Get ready to unlock some serious self-knowledge.
Got your number. Awesome. Let's say, just as an example, you got a 4.
Okay, 4. So we know that means stability and structure are like super important to them.
Exactly. The video talks about how 4s really thrive on order and security, but it also mentions that they can be a little resistant to change, you know? Does that ring true for you at all?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, routines and knowing what to expect can be comforting, right?
Absolutely. It's familiar, it feels safe, but when it comes to those bigger life changes, things can get a bit tricky.
Right. Like moving to a new city or switching careers.
Right. Exactly. Those kinds of things can really shake up a 4's world.
So how can someone with a karmic number of 4 learn to embrace those changes a little more?
Well, the video suggests incorporating small changes into their routines, just to kind of dip their toes into the waters of the unknown.
So instead of always sticking to their usual morning routine, maybe they switch it up a bit.
Yeah. Or try a new restaurant instead of always going to their favorite spot. Little things like that can make a big difference.
It's like building up those change muscles
Yeah.
so they're not so thrown off when bigger changes come along.
You got it. It's about finding that balance between honoring their need for stability while also embracing the natural flow of life.
Which is always changing, right? Okay,
Right.
that makes a lot of sense. What about if someone's number is 9?
The compassionate soul.
Right. The ones who want to heal the world and help everyone.
Exactly. The video talks about their incredible capacity for empathy, but it also warns about the risk of burnout, you know?
Oh yeah, I can see how that would happen. If you're constantly pouring your energy into others, you're going to run dry eventually.
Exactly. So for a 9, it's crucial to prioritize self-care and learn to set boundaries.
Right, so they can protect their own energy while still making a difference.
Absolutely. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about a number that's a bit different. Karmic number 8.
The ambitious ones, right? driven to succeed and make their mark on the world.
Exactly. They've got that go-getter energy.
But we talked about how that ambition can sometimes lead to an unhealthy attachment to power or material wealth.
Right. That's the potential shadow side of the 8. They can get so focused on achieving those external goals that they lose sight of what truly matters.
So it's important for them to remember that real fulfillment comes from using their influence for good.
Right. It's about aligning their ambition with a higher purpose.
That's powerful stuff. What about a number that's more focused on inner exploration, like karmic number 7?
Ah, yes, the seekers. Always searching for knowledge and understanding.
The deep thinkers. But the video also mentions that they can sometimes get a little TO caught up in their own heads.
Right. They can isolate themselves without even realizing it.
So it's important for them to find ways to connect with the world around them.
Yeah, to balance all that introspection with real-world experiences.
To bring those ideas and insights out into the open.
Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about a number that's all about connection. Karmic number 2.
The peacemakers. Always striving for harmony and balance in their relationships.
Right. They're naturally intuitive and sensitive to the needs of others, but remember that sensitivity can also make them avoid conflict at all costs, even when it's not healthy.
Right. It's important for them to honor their own needs, too, not just the needs of everyone else.
Absolutely. They have to learn that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's actually essential for healthy relationships.
So it's not about becoming confrontational, but about learning to communicate assertively.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to a number that might have a bit of trouble with that. Karmic number 3.
The creative, expressive ones. The life of the party.
They bring so much joy and vibrancy into the world, but remember, they can also struggle with focus and discipline.
Yeah, they might have a million amazing ideas, but have trouble actually bringing them to life.
That's the classic 3 dilemma. So it's important for them to find ways to channel that creative energy into tangible results.
So like setting realistic goals and breaking down big projects into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly. And finding ways to stay motivated even when that initial burst of inspiration fades.
Because that happens to all of us, right?
Totally. Okay, let's talk about a number that might be a little more comfortable with structure and routine. Karmic number 1.
The independent trailblazers.
Yeah.
Always forging their own path.
Yeah, they're not afraid to stand out from the crowd. But that strong sense of individuality can sometimes lead to pride or a lack of consideration for others.
Right, they can get so caught up in their own vision that they forget to consider the impact on others.
So for a 1, it's about finding that balance between independence and collaboration.
To use their leadership skills to empower others, not just themselves.
Exactly. Okay, let's wrap up with a number that's all about embracing change and adventure. Karmic number 5.
The free spirits. Always seeking new experiences and pushing boundaries. But we talked about how that can sometimes lead to impulsivity or a fear of commitment.
Exactly. So for a 5, it's about understanding that true freedom actually comes from within.
So it's not about constantly chasing external experiences, but about cultivating that inner sense of peace and stability.
You got it. It's about finding freedom within commitment, within relationships, within themselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I'm really starting to see how each karmic number is like a unique path of self-discovery. It's not about judging one number as better than another, but about understanding the strengths and challenges that come with each.
Right. It's about embracing the whole package, the light and the shadow.
So now take a moment to reflect on your own karmic number. Think about how these themes show up in your life.
What resonates with you? What feels familiar? And what areas might be calling for a little more attention and growth?
Because remember, you have the power to choose how you work with your karmic number.
It's like a map guiding you on your journey. But ultimately, you decide which paths to take.
And the video highlights some practical tools to help you navigate that journey. Things like meditation, self-reflection, forgiveness, and conscious action.
These tools can help you become more aware of your patterns, your strengths, and your challenges, and give you the power to make choices that align with your soul's purpose.
So let's dive into those practices a bit more and explore how they can support you, no matter what your karmic number may be. Okay, so let's unpack these tools for transformation a bit. Let's start with meditation.
Now, when we say meditation, we don't necessarily mean sitting in lotus pose for hours on end, you know?
Right, it's not about emptying your mind completely. That's like impossible.
It's more about creating space, just like hitting pause on that constant mental chatter.
Yeah, giving yourself a chance to just be without all the noise.
And that can be super beneficial for ANY karmic number.
So like for a 5, always on the go, meditation could help them slow down, find some grounding.
Exactly. And a 4 who loves routine might find that meditation helps them get more comfortable with uncertainty. You know, life throws curveballs sometimes.
Right. Okay, what about self-reflection? How does that fit into all of this?
Self-reflection is really about taking a good, honest look at yourself, your patterns, your strengths, those areas where you might, need a little work.
So like journaling, therapy, even just taking some time to think things through on your own.
All of that. And the key is to be kind to yourself during this process. No judgment, just curiosity.
Yeah, because we're not trying to beat ourselves up, right? We're trying to understand ourselves better.
Exactly. And speaking of being kind to yourself, let's talk about forgiveness.
Forgiveness, that's a big one.
It is. It's about letting go of those past hurts, those grudges we hold on to.
You mean like forgiving ourselves for mistakes we've made?
That, and forgiving others too. Because holding on to that anger and resentment, it just weighs you down.
And it keeps us stuck, right?
Yeah.
Prevents us from moving forward.
Exactly. And for certain karmic numbers, this can be extra challenging.
Oh, like which ones?
Well, a 1 might have trouble admitting they were wrong, and a 6 might take on the blame for things that aren't even their fault.
That's a good point. So forgiveness is like a key step in breaking free from those patterns.
It is. Okay, so we've got meditation, self-reflection, forgiveness. What about conscious action?
Right. What does it mean to like act consciously?
It's about making choices that are in alignment with your values, moving through the world with intention, not just reacting on autopilot.
So instead of just going through the motions, you're really present.
Yeah.
Really thinking about the impact of your actions.
Exactly. And this is where the real magic happens. Because it's one thing to know about your karmic number, it's another thing to actually do something with that knowledge.
Right. It's about putting those insights into practice.
So how do you start acting more consciously? Well, it starts with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts, your words, the choices you make each day.
Like a constant check-in.
Right. And if you realize you're not quite on the right track, well, you course correct. That's the beauty of it all. You have the power to change direction at any time.
I love that. It's like we're not bound by our karmic numbers. We have the power to choose our own path.
You got it. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Progress over perfection. Right?
Exactly.
Well, this has been amazing. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on things.
We're so glad to hear that. Remember, this is just the beginning. There's a whole world of knowledge out there waiting to be explored.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep choosing the path that leads you towards your best self.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And until next time, remember, you have the power to create the life you desire.